It was just another day in a quiet suburban neighborhood when a young black boy walked home from school, clutching his backpack and dreaming of his future basketball career. His sneakers, worn and scuffed, told a story of hard work and determination. But as he turned a familiar corner, he encountered someone who would change his day and his life in ways he couldn't have imagined. A police officer notorious for his cold demeanor and prejudice stopped the boy in his tracks. What began as a casual encounter turned into a humiliating spectacle. The officer mocked the boy's shoes, sneering at his dreams, with words that cut deeper than the boy could show. What the officer didn't know was that this boy had someone standing fiercely in his corner, his father. The dad's reaction to this blatant disrespect not only silenced the officer but captured the hearts of millions online. How did a moment of prejudice turn into a viral sensation? What did the father say that left everyone speechless? And how did this boy become a beacon of hope for so many? Stick around as we uncover this inspiring, unforgettable story. It was a sunny afternoon when 12-year-old Malik trudged home from school, his well-loved sneakers squeaking slightly with each step. To him, those shoes were more than just footwear. They were a badge of honor, a reward his dad had saved up for months to buy. Malik, a budding basketball enthusiast, wore them proudly despite the scuffs and worn-out soles. As he rounded the corner of his neighborhood, he saw a police car parked near the local playground. Leaning against the car was Officer Warren, a man known around the community for his sarcastic and sometimes cruel remarks. Malik's heart sank as their eyes met. "Hey, kid," Officer Warren called out, his voice dripping with condescension. Malik hesitated but stopped out of respect. "Nice shoes," Warren added, smirking. The tone in his voice made it clear it wasn't a compliment. Malik glanced down at his sneakers and then back up at the officer. "Thanks," he replied cautiously, unsure of what was coming next. Warren chuckled and took a step closer. "Where'd you get those? Dumpster diving? Or did someone donate them to you?" The words stung, but Malik tried to keep his composure. "My dad bought them for me," he said, standing a little taller, his pride unwavering. But Warren wasn't done. "Looks like he wasted his money. Those things won't make you any better at basketball, right? Maybe you should save up for some real shoes, or a reality check." Tears pricked Malik's eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He'd heard taunts before, but this felt different. This wasn't a schoolyard bully. It was a man in uniform, someone who should have been protecting and uplifting the community. Malik clutched his backpack straps tightly and muttered, "I need to go home." Warren waved him off dismissively. "Go ahead, kid. Just don't trip over those fancy shoes on the way." Malik walked away as quickly as he could, his head held high but his heart heavy. What he didn't know was that his dad, Marcus, had been watching from a distance. Marcus had just returned from work, pulling into the driveway when he witnessed the entire exchange. He saw the way Malik's shoulders drooped as he walked up the steps to their house. "Malik, what's wrong?" Marcus asked, crouching down to meet his son's eyes. Malik hesitated, but finally told his dad what had happened. He explained every cruel word Officer Warren had said about his shoes, and how it made him feel small and humiliated. Marcus listened intently, anger bubbling beneath his calm exterior. "No one has the right to make you feel that way," Marcus said firmly, "especially not someone who's supposed to serve and protect." Marcus knew he had to do something, not just for Malik, but for every kid who had ever been made to feel less than they were. With Malik by his side, Marcus pulled out his phone and recorded a heartfelt message. "Today, my son was humiliated by someone who should have known better." Marcus began, his voice steady but full of emotion. "He was mocked for his shoes that represent hard work and love. Officer Warren, you might see worn-out sneakers, but I see determination and dreams, and I won't stand by while someone tries to crush those dreams." Within hours, the video went viral. The video Marcus posted sparked an immediate wave of reactions online. Comments poured in, ranging from messages of support to shared outrage over Officer Warren's behavior. "This isn't just about shoes, it's about respect," one comment read. Another said, "Kids deserve better. That officer needs to be held accountable." As the video spread, it caught the attention of local news outlets. Reporters arrived at Marcus's doorstep, eager to hear more about the incident. Malik, shy but resolute, shared his story with them. "I just wanted to wear my shoes and play basketball," he said softly. "I didn't think someone would make fun of me, especially a police officer." Marcus stood beside his son during every interview, his protective nature on full display. "This isn't about one bad officer," he told reporters. "It's about a system that allows this kind of behavior to go unchecked. We need change, not just for my son, but for everyone in our community." As news of the incident spread, community leaders and activists stepped forward to support Marcus and Malik. A local youth basketball coach reached out, offering to sponsor Malik for a summer training program. "We see potential in this kid, and we want to nurture it," the coach said, handing Malik a brand new basketball. But the attention didn't stop there. A prominent sneaker brand reached out to Marcus with a proposal. They wanted to create a custom pair of sneakers inspired by Malik's story, with proceeds from the sales going to support underprivileged youth in the community. Malik's eyes lit up when he heard the news. "Really? My own sneakers?" he asked, disbelief and excitement mixing in his voice. Marcus grinned and ruffled his son's hair. "See, son, your story matters. People care." Meanwhile, pressure mounted on the police department to address Officer Warren's behavior. Protesters gathered outside the precinct, holding signs that read, "Respect starts here," and "Kids deserve better." The chief of police, seeing the growing unrest, held a press conference to address the situation. "We are aware of the incident involving Officer Warren and young Malik," the chief said solemnly. "This department does not condone disrespect or discrimination in any form. An internal investigation is underway, and appropriate actions will be taken." But for Marcus and Malik, an apology wasn't enough. Marcus decided to take things a step further. With the help of a local civil rights organization, he filed a formal complaint against Officer Warren, demanding not only disciplinary action, but also mandatory sensitivity training for the entire department. "This isn't just about punishing one officer," Marcus explained. "It's about creating a culture where no child feels humiliated for being who they are." The community rallied behind Marcus and Malik, organizing events to raise awareness about respect, kindness, and the importance of role models in positions of authority. At one such event, Malik was invited to speak. Nervous but determined, he stepped up to the microphone. "I didn't think anyone would care about what happened to me," he began, his voice steady. "But now I know that my story can help others. If my shoes can make people see the importance of respect, then I'm proud to wear them." The crowd erupted in applause, cheering for the young boy who had turned a moment of humiliation into a movement for change. As Malik's story gained traction, the momentum only grew stronger. Social media platforms buzzed with hashtag Celebrities, athletes, and influencers shared the video, amplifying the message far beyond their small community. Malik had unknowingly become a symbol of resilience and change. One morning, Marcus received an unexpected call. It was from a renowned talk show host who wanted to feature their story. Hesitant, but recognizing the opportunity to amplify their message, Marcus agreed. On the day of the interview, Malik wore his favorite outfit, complete with the very sneakers that started it all. The interview was emotional. Malik spoke about his love for basketball, his aspirations, and how the incident made him feel. Marcus, sitting beside his son, shared his perspective as a father. "It's not about shoes," he said. "It's about teaching our kids that they deserve respect, no matter what." The audience was visibly moved. The host turned to Malik and asked, "What would you say to Officer Warren if he were here today?" Malik hesitated, then spoke from the heart. "I'd ask him why he thought it was okay to make fun of me," he said softly. "And I'd tell him that my shoes might not be fancy, but they mean a lot to me, because my dad worked hard to get them." The studio erupted in applause. Malik's simple yet profound words resonated with everyone watching. It wasn't long before the interview went viral, sparking even more discussions about respect, privilege, and the importance of role models. Meanwhile, the pressure on the police department continued to mount. Officer Warren's behavior was no longer just a local issue. It had become a national conversation. Civil rights organizations and community leaders demanded accountability, not just for Warren, but for the culture that allowed such incidents to happen. The police department responded by announcing a series of reforms. These included mandatory sensitivity and diversity training, community engagement programs, and a zero-tolerance policy for discriminatory behavior. Officer Warren was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation, and many called for his dismissal. Marcus, however, wasn't satisfied with these measures. He wanted lasting change, not just temporary fixes. Partnering with local organizations, he began working on a community initiative aimed at fostering understanding and respect. The program, called Walk in Their Shoes, focused on creating dialogues between law enforcement and the community, particularly with young people. One of the first events under this initiative was a basketball game between local kids and police officers. Malik, of course, was the star of the show. Wearing his now iconic sneakers, he dribbled past officers and scored basket after basket, drawing cheers from the crowd. During a break in the game, an officer approached Malik. "You're pretty good," he said, offering a fist bump. Malik hesitated for a moment before returning the gesture. It was a small but significant moment, one that symbolized the potential for healing and understanding. The event was a massive success, drawing media attention and community support. Marcus was proud of what they had accomplished, but he knew the journey was far from over. "This is just the beginning," he told the crowd at the event. "We have to keep pushing for change, not just here, but everywhere." As weeks turned into months, the effects of Malik's story became more evident. Donations poured in for the Walk in Their Shoes program, allowing it to expand to other neighborhoods. Schools invited Marcus and Malik to speak, using their story to teach lessons about empathy and respect. Even sneaker companies took notice, with one brand launching a special edition shoe inspired by Malik's story. The shoes featured the words "respect" and "resilience" on the sides, with proceeds going toward community programs. Despite the positive changes, Marcus remained vigilant. He knew that systemic change required constant effort. One evening, as he and Malik sat together reviewing plans for their next event, Malik asked, Do you think Officer Warren will ever say sorry? Marcus paused, choosing his words carefully. I don't know, son, he said. But what I do know is that we can't let his actions define us. We've turned this into something powerful, and that's what matters. Malik nodded, a determined look in his eyes. Then I'll keep wearing my shoes, he said. They remind me that I'm stronger than his words. That night, Marcus reflected on how far they had come. What started as a moment of humiliation had grown into a movement for change. Malik's resilience and their community's support had turned pain into purpose, proving that even the smallest acts of disrespect could ignite a fire for justice. The story didn't end there. It continued to inspire people across the country, reminding them that respect wasn't just about words or appearances. It was about recognizing the humanity in everyone. As the Walk in Their Shoes initiative expanded, its impact rippled far beyond their local community. The program became a national model, with cities across the country adopting similar events to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the communities they served. Marcus found himself at the forefront of a growing movement, speaking at conferences and panel discussions about the importance of empathy, understanding, and mutual respect. One of the most significant moments came during a large community rally in the heart of their city. Thousands gathered, carrying signs that read, "Respect starts here," and "Change the narrative." The energy was electric, fueled by a shared determination to create a better future for the next generation. Malik stood by his father's side, taking in the overwhelming support. At just 12 years old, he had become a symbol of resilience and hope. Reporters crowded around, eager to hear from the boy whose story had touched so many. When asked what the movement meant to him, Malik answered with a maturity beyond his years. It's about making sure no one feels small or less than just because of who they are, he said. It's about respect for everyone. The crowd erupted into applause, and Marcus couldn't have been prouder. He stepped up to the microphone, his voice steady but filled with emotion. This is not just about one moment or one officer, he said. It's about a system that needs to change. It's about teaching our kids to stand tall and fight for what's right. And it's about making sure that every single person feels valued, no matter what. The rally ended with a powerful moment, a symbolic walk through the city, with participants wearing mismatched shoes to represent walking in someone else's footsteps. Marcus and Malik led the march, their heads held high, as chants of "Respect for all" echoed through the streets. Meanwhile, the consequences of Officer Warren's actions continued to unfold. Public pressure had forced the police department to take a closer look at its internal culture. Investigations revealed a troubling pattern of unchecked behavior and inadequate accountability measures. The findings were damning, leading to the resignation of several high-ranking officials and a commitment to sweeping reforms. Officer Warren himself faced disciplinary action, but the most profound change came from within. Stripped of his badge and confronted with the consequences of his actions, he began to reflect on the harm he had caused. For the first time, he truly understood the weight of his words and the pain they had inflicted. One day, Warren reached out to Marcus. It was a bold and unexpected move, and Marcus was initially hesitant. But after much thought, he agreed to meet, on the condition that the conversation remain focused on healing and understanding. The meeting took place at a neutral location with no cameras or reporters. Warren entered the room looking noticeably different, his once confident demeanor replaced by humility and remorse. He began by apologizing to Malik, his voice unsteady but sincere. "I was wrong," Warren admitted. "I let my biases cloud my judgment, and I hurt you in a way I can't take back. I'm sorry." Malik looked up at his father, seeking guidance. Marcus nodded, encouraging his son to speak from the heart. "What you said hurt me a lot," Malik said, his voice quiet but firm. "But I'm glad you see that now. I hope you'll think about how your words affect people next time." The exchange was brief but powerful, leaving an indelible mark on everyone in the room. Marcus later described it as a step toward reconciliation, though he emphasized that true justice came from systemic change, not just personal apologies. As weeks turned into months, the Walk in Their Shoes program continued to grow. Malik became an active participant, using his story to inspire others and encourage dialogue. He often spoke at schools and youth centers, reminding kids that their worth wasn't defined by their circumstances or possessions. One memorable event took place at a local elementary school, where Malik shared his experience with a group of young students. He held up his sneakers, now worn but cherished, and told them, "These shoes might not look special, but they mean a lot to me. They remind me that I'm more than what people see on the outside." The students listened intently, their faces lighting up with understanding. One little boy raised his hand and asked, "Does that mean we're all special, no matter what?" Malik smiled. "Exactly," he said, "and don't let anyone tell you different." The room erupted into applause, and Marcus watched with pride as his son stepped into his role as a leader and role model. The movement also inspired broader societal shifts. Corporations and organizations began reevaluating their own practices, launching campaigns to promote inclusion and diversity. Schools implemented programs to teach empathy and respect, ensuring that future generations grew up with a stronger sense of community and understanding. Through it all, Marcus remained grounded, driven by the lessons he wanted to impart to Malik. He often reminded his son that their journey wasn't just about overcoming adversity, it was about using their experiences to create a better world for others. As the anniversary of the original incident approached, the family planned a special event to commemorate how far they had come. Held at the community center, the event featured speeches, performances, and a showcase of the Walk in Their Shoes initiative's accomplishments. Malik took the stage to deliver the closing remarks. Standing tall in his cherished sneakers, he addressed the crowd with confidence and heart. "A year ago, I felt small and hurt," he began. "But today, I feel proud. Proud of my dad, proud of our community, and proud of what we've done together. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning." The audience rose to their feet, applauding and cheering as Malik stepped down from the stage. Marcus enveloped his son in a hug, his heart swelling with love and pride. As the sun set on the event, Marcus and Malik stood together, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. They knew there was still work to be done, but they also knew they weren't alone. Their story had become a beacon of hope, reminding people everywhere that even the smallest voices could spark the biggest changes. The journey wasn't just about shoes or words, it was about dignity, respect, and the power of standing up for what's right. And as Malik looked out at the crowd, he knew they had made a difference, not just for themselves, but for countless others who now dared to believe in a brighter future. The community's transformation following Marcus and Malik's story continued to ripple outward, touching lives far beyond their neighborhood. Social media platforms buzzed with posts about the Walk in Their Shoes initiative, while inspiring videos of Malik's speeches and the program's marches went viral. National organizations and activists reached out to collaborate, amplifying their message and ensuring it resonated in every corner of the country. At the same time, Marcus began receiving invitations to speak at high-profile events. Universities, nonprofits, and even corporate forums sought his insights on community leadership, resilience, and systemic reform. Though initially reluctant to step into the spotlight, Marcus realized the importance of using his voice to keep the momentum alive. One such event was a prestigious leadership summit, where Marcus shared the stage with renowned figures in social justice. Addressing a packed auditorium, he recounted the incident with Officer Warren, emphasizing how it had initially felt like a crushing blow, but ultimately became the catalyst for change. "It's not about the shoes," Marcus told the audience. "It's about what they represent: respect, empathy, a chance to walk in someone else's life for a moment. When we take that step, we can change everything, not just for ourselves, but for everyone." The audience gave him a standing ovation, and afterward several attendees approached him to express their admiration and support. Among them was a young college student who had been moved to tears. "Your story reminded me of my father," she said. "He faced so many struggles, but he always told me to stand tall. Thank you for showing us what that looks like." Back at home, Malik continued to thrive, both in school and as a young leader in the community. His confidence blossomed as he took on more responsibilities with the Walk in Their Shoes program. Whether organizing events, mentoring younger kids, or sharing his story with new audiences, Malik embodied the values his father had instilled in him. One day, as Malik prepared for a local youth leadership conference, Marcus sat down beside him. "You've come a long way, son," Marcus said, placing a supportive hand on his shoulder. "You're doing something I never imagined at your age." Malik grinned, holding up his sneakers with pride. "I just want everyone to know they can do it too." The conference turned out to be a defining moment for Malik. Addressing an auditorium full of peers, he spoke from the heart, recounting how his journey had taught him the importance of perseverance and self-worth. "We all have something to offer," Malik said. "No matter where we come from, no matter what anyone says, we have value, and when we stand together, we can make a difference." The applause was deafening, and afterward, Malik was swarmed by students eager to connect with him. Many shared their own stories of overcoming challenges, inspired by his words to take action in their own lives. Meanwhile, Officer Warren's life had taken a starkly different turn. Removed from the police force and faced with public condemnation, he struggled to come to terms with the consequences of his actions. At first, he resisted accountability, blaming external factors for his downfall, but as the months passed, the isolation forced him to reflect more deeply. Warren began attending support groups for individuals seeking to address their biases and change their behaviors. In these sessions, he confronted the prejudices that had shaped his decisions, recognizing the harm they had caused, not just to Malik, but to countless others over the years. One day, Warren reached out to Marcus once more. This time, it wasn't just an apology, it was an offer to help. "I know I can't undo what I did," Warren admitted, "but if there's any way I can contribute to the work you're doing, I want to try." Marcus, though skeptical, agreed to a meeting. They discussed Warren's potential role, carefully setting boundaries to ensure his involvement wouldn't overshadow the program's mission. Ultimately, Warren began working behind the scenes, helping with logistics and outreach while continuing his personal journey of growth. As the anniversary of the original incident approached, Marcus and Malik prepared for a special commemorative event. Held at the community center, it was a celebration of resilience, unity, and progress. The event featured performances, speeches, and a showcase of the initiative's accomplishments, highlighting the lives it had touched and the changes it had inspired. During the closing ceremony, Malik took the stage, holding the microphone with steady hands. "This year has been about more than just one moment," he said. "It's been about showing the world what respect and understanding can do. We've proven that when we stand together, we can overcome anything." The audience erupted into cheers, their applause echoing the powerful message of hope and unity that had defined the year. Marcus joined his son on stage, placing an arm around his shoulders as they gazed out at the crowd. Together, they represented the strength of a community united in the face of adversity. As the sun set on the event, Marcus reflected on how far they had come. What had begun as a moment of humiliation had blossomed into a movement of empowerment and change. And as Malik's bright future stretched ahead of him, Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. "Let's keep walking," Marcus said quietly, looking down at his son's shoes. Malik smiled, nodding in agreement. Together, they turned to face the next chapter, ready to keep making strides toward a world where everyone could walk with dignity and pride. The momentum generated by the Walk in Their Shoes initiative continued to ripple through the community and beyond. The movement became a nationwide symbol of resilience and a call to action against systemic prejudice. Malik, now a confident teenager, had grown into a role model for his peers, and Marcus remained a steadfast leader, ensuring the program stayed true to its roots. National media outlets began taking an interest in their story, leading to interviews on prominent talk shows and articles in major publications. Malik's courage and eloquence, paired with Marcus's unwavering commitment, inspired millions. Donations and partnerships poured in, allowing the initiative to expand into new cities, reaching communities that had long felt overlooked and underserved. One particularly poignant moment came during a town hall meeting in a neighboring city where Marcus and Malik were invited to speak. The packed auditorium buzzed with anticipation as people from diverse backgrounds gathered to hear their story. When Marcus stepped onto the stage, he looked out at the sea of faces and began with a simple yet profound statement. "We all walk different paths in life," he said, his voice steady. "But respect is the common ground where we can all meet. That's what this movement is about. Not just shoes, but dignity." The crowd erupted into applause, and Malik followed with a heartfelt speech about his personal journey and the lessons he had learned. He emphasized the importance of standing tall in the face of adversity and using challenges as opportunities to grow stronger. By the end of their talk, the audience was moved to tears and inspired to take action in their own lives. Meanwhile, Officer Warren, who had become a quiet but dedicated ally, continued his work behind the scenes. His presence in the initiative was met with mixed reactions, but Marcus believed that allowing him to contribute was a step toward meaningful reconciliation. One day, Warren approached Marcus with an idea. "What if we create workshops where law enforcement and community members can share their experiences?" he suggested. "We need to bridge the gap between both sides." Marcus hesitated, but ultimately agreed. The workshops began as small, hesitant gatherings, but quickly evolved into powerful forums for dialogue and understanding. Officers and community members alike shared their stories, breaking down stereotypes and building trust. These workshops became a cornerstone of the initiative's outreach, demonstrating that change wasn't just about addressing the past, but also creating a better future. Warren often spoke about his own transformation, acknowledging his mistakes and encouraging others to confront their biases. As the movement grew, Malik started dreaming even bigger. One evening, while sitting on the porch with his father, he shared his vision. "Dad, what if we start a scholarship program for kids like me?" Malik asked. "We could help them go to college and make a difference." Marcus smiled, pride radiating from his expression. "That's a great idea, son. Let's make it happen." Within months, the Walk in Their Shoes Scholarship Fund was launched, providing financial aid to underprivileged students with aspirations of higher education. The first recipients included aspiring lawyers, teachers, and artists, all inspired by Malik's story to pursue their dreams and give back to their communities. At the first scholarship award ceremony, Malik addressed the recipients with a maturity and confidence that belied his age. "You are the future," he told them. "What you do with this opportunity will shape the world we all live in. So, walk tall and make every step count." As the years passed, the impact of the initiative only deepened. The community center where the movement had begun became a hub of activity, hosting mentorship programs, leadership workshops, and events celebrating diversity and inclusion. A mural on the center's exterior depicted Malik and Marcus walking hand in hand, surrounded by children of all backgrounds, symbolizing unity and hope. One day, as Malik prepared to leave for college on a full scholarship, Marcus reflected on their journey. What had started as a moment of humiliation had grown into a movement that transformed countless lives. "You've made me proud every step of the way," Marcus told his son, his voice thick with emotion. "And I know you'll keep doing great things." Malik hugged his father tightly. "I learned from the best." As Malik boarded the bus to begin his next chapter, Marcus stood on the curb, waving with a mix of pride and bittersweetness. He knew that Malik's journey was far from over, and neither was his own. The movement they had built together would continue to thrive, proving that even in the face of adversity, change was always possible. National attention for the movement brought not only recognition, but also challenges. With a larger platform came scrutiny. Some questioned the intentions behind Walk in Their Shoes, while others tried to politicize its message. Marcus and Malik stayed true to their mission, focusing on the stories and struggles of the people they aimed to help. To counter the criticism, Marcus launched a transparency campaign, inviting journalists and community leaders to witness the initiative's work firsthand. Documentaries were made, capturing the transformation of individuals who had been impacted by the program. One particularly moving segment followed a young woman named Keisha, who had received a scholarship and was now pursuing a law degree to fight for social justice. Her story brought many to tears and silenced much of the criticism. Back at the community center, the workshops Warren had suggested continued to evolve. One session featured a powerful moment when a young black man shared a story about being unfairly stopped and searched by the police. After hearing the story, a police officer stood up and apologized publicly, saying, "I've made mistakes, and I want to do better. Thank you for sharing your experience." The room erupted into applause, and both men shook hands. It was a small moment, but it represented the potential for meaningful change. Meanwhile, Malik thrived in college, becoming a vocal advocate for social justice on campus. He organized events that echoed the mission of Walk in Their Shoes, and regularly returned home to mentor younger students. His growing confidence and leadership skills inspired even more young people to believe in their ability to make a difference. One day, Malik's professor invited him to give a guest lecture on grassroots activism. Standing in front of a packed lecture hall, Malik spoke about the power of empathy and community. "The most important lesson I've learned," he said, "is that change doesn't start with grand gestures. It starts with small, meaningful actions. It starts with listening." The lecture received a standing ovation, and Malik was approached by students who wanted to start similar initiatives on their campuses. His story had sparked a new wave of activism, proving that the movement's impact was far-reaching. As the initiative expanded, Marcus decided to partner with national organizations to bring Walk in Their Shoes to underserved areas across the country. The scholarships, workshops, and mentorship programs became a blueprint for other communities to replicate. Marcus traveled extensively, sharing his experiences and encouraging others to take up the cause. In a heartwarming twist, Officer Warren became one of the program's most vocal advocates. He often spoke at events, sharing his journey from being part of the problem to becoming part of the solution. His transformation inspired other officers to reflect on their own biases and take steps toward change. One evening, Marcus received a letter from a woman in another state. She wrote about how her son, inspired by Malik's story, had started a similar initiative in their community. She ended the letter with, "Thank you for showing us that, even in the darkest times, hope can shine through." Marcus shared the letter with Malik during one of his visits home. "This is why we do what we do," Marcus said, his voice filled with pride. "We're not just changing our community, we're changing the world." As the years went on, the movement's impact only grew. The Walk in Their Shoes Scholarship Fund sent hundreds of students to college, many of whom returned to their communities to give back. The workshops evolved into national conferences, drawing participants from all walks of life. The community center, once a modest building, expanded into a state-of-the-art facility that served as a beacon of hope and progress. Malik, now a young man with a bright future ahead, often reflected on how far they had come. He knew that none of it would have been possible without the moment that had sparked it all, a moment of humiliation turned into a movement for change. For those who hear this story, what steps will you take to make a difference in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation alive. Together, we can walk toward a brighter future.